Hey, this is Adam DePort, customer service expert, author, and speaker, and we are here today with the interview series, our expert interview series. And we have a fantastic guest who is a buddy of mine, a C-suite author, Joy Marsden. And Joy has an incredible background, 20 years of business experience in technical textile design, marketing, customer service, area sales management. She's worked with blue chip companies, including Marks and Spencer, Mars, Avon Cosmetics. And today she's an influential change advocate. Joy works internationally using her unique design Keep Stepping program, which we're going to talk about Keep Stepping. That's also the name of her book. And Joy works with leaders and teams from organizations like PepsiCo, Michelin, and the BBC. So we are so happy to have you here, Joy. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Adam. It's good to be here.
Excellent. All right, well, we are going to jump right in. I've always loved the title of your book, but you got to wonder what it's about if you just hear the top line and not the subtitle. So tell us about the full title of Keep Stepping, and what is Keep Stepping all about?
Right, it's a great question. You know, when people see the title, they usually go, oh, crumbs, she's going to put us on a treadmill. That's not the case. But it is about taking action, and it is about movement, and it is about making sure that you're moving towards your goal, the things that you aspire to do, the dreams and the things that you set yourself, the things that you hold dear. And it really is about stepping in the midst of challenge and change and difficult situations. You see, as human beings, what we like to do when we hit a challenge, you know, a lot of us will keep going, some of us will sit still, but you know, when my research shows that around 80% of us have a moment when we just want to stop. We feel like we just don't want to keep going, and actually we become anxious, we become worried, and it's natural in those situations to do so. But what I found that those people that achieve have an ability to keep moving during that time of challenge and change. And you know, the steps that we take define the people we are, and they have an effect on everything that we do. So that's what Keep Stepping is about in a nutshell.
Well, I know you're in the UK, so it may be a little different for you, but that feeling like you want to quit 80% of the way through, that's how I feel every tax season. I'm done. Like, I'm tired of it.
You're tired of it. Well, we pay tax in the UK too.
Yeah, but no, the tax season was as onerous a thing for you, but it's really fun here. Now, you know, there's that old expression, journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Is any of that idea in Keep Stepping?
Yeah, so it is. I mean, everything we do is a collection of the steps that we take. And sometimes we stumble. It just is part of life. And, you know, in life, we are going to experience some blockages. And I show a maze in the work that I do. And I just say, you know there's a way out, but you're going to face some blockages on the way. And it's what you do in those times. So yeah, the first step is always the most important, but you've got to keep taking them. And it's not just stepping in any direction. There are three things that I tell my clients, and those are stepping up, because you really if you want to be all that you were designed to be, you've got to step up. And, the other thing is stepping out, because when you're stretched, that's where the change happens. It doesn't happen when you're in the zone that you've lived in for the X amount of years. Stretching happens, and that's where the change happens. So, and after you've done that, you can stand out. And those in you'll know these. I'm sure you will talk to your customers because you're a customer service expert. I'm sure you'll mention this, but I think standing out is about being, standing out with integrity, with honesty, with truth, with encouragement, with a smile on your face. Those things that if you strip everything else away, the things that remain, the things that people remember you for or not, as the case may be.
Right. You're almost talking about authenticity, which is a word I really don't like because it's become it's like love. What does it mean? Like, people just talk about being authentic, but you and I have had a few conversations. So I feel like we may have a similar view of what that means. And it's really about sort of being real, right? And communicating with people on a human level. And of course, that's what we do talk about with customer service and customer experience, because you want to connect as a human. I mean, one of the big challenges of customer experience today is people are so disconnected from the organizations they do business with.
Yes.
And that's a leadership thing. And I know one of the things you talk about is self-leadership. So
it is.
Tell us a little bit about self-leadership and what are some of the challenges you see leaders facing today?
Yeah, well, it's exactly that. I mean, you kind of hit it in a nutshell. Self-leadership for me is vitally important because we're not all leaders. So, I mean, we can talk about leadership, but not everybody is a leader and wants to be a leader. But we do lead ourselves in some form. In the decisions that we make, determine how we get there, the way we get there, and what people see of us on our journey to where we want to be. And I work with teams a lot, and particularly sales teams and teams in the healthcare and financial organizations. And these teams are vitally important. But if you've got one member in that team that isn't leading themselves effectively, and they don't have the self-leadership skills to kind of take them through the good times and the bad times, it's going to affect the whole team. So self-leadership for me is key for anybody, whether you're a teenager or somebody that is seasoned in business. Self-leadership is key for you.
Well, yeah, that's really interesting. To me, I think there's an old expression: "What the fish rots from the head," and it's true in a negative sense, but it's also true in a positive sense. You can't have great culture, you can't move an organization forward in a positive direction unless the leader's on board and the leader's managing themselves and managing their team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is, I'm a guitarist, so I always you got to tune the strings, just a very fine amount to get the right note. So you talk about tuning in your keep stepping. What does that mean?
Well, I liken it to a radio. And when you're trying to tune the old-fashioned radio, and it's like shh, and you're moving the dial, and it's like shh, and it's not going where you want it to, and then all of a sudden you hit the sweet spot, and you go, man, that's good, and you can listen to the music and listen in peace. Well, when you're tuned into your team, when you're tuned into your colleagues, when you're tuned in to the people that you live and work with, life can be rosy, because you're understanding where they are at that moment in time. And you and I both know what it's like to walk into a situation, say you go home and you think something is wrong. And you can cut the atmosphere with a knife. And you're like, Now if I go, if you, I know you're married. Are you married?
I am.
Yeah, I know. So if you go home to your wife and you go in and that atmosphere is there, and then you start singing, "Oh, happy day," that's not gonna bode well, is it, with your wife? Something's gonna be wrong. So what you'll have done is you'd have tuned in to that kind of situation. And if we can tune in different situations to the people that are around us and understand clearly what's going on, then life is going to be better. But you have to have great listening skills. You have to have an amount of compassion to be able to do that. You've got to be somebody with your eyes wide open that cares not just for yourself, but for the people that you work with and that you live with. That's what tuning in is about.
But one thing I've found that's very important, because you never want to walk home and go home and have that atmosphere. So the first thing I've learned to prevent that atmosphere is to not talk about my wife on YouTube. Rule one. So we're going to move on.
Yeah.
That's the first fundamental rule.
I hear you.
I'm sure I do other things, but that one I've learned. But it's interesting. I have a question for you. We're talking about you need empathy and you need to be tuned in and to be able to read those signals. And one of the things I teach is not everybody's, and I'll twist this over back to customer service, not everybody's designed to be in a customer-facing role. Not everybody is designed to be able to read those signals. And this becomes maybe a nature versus nurture argument. So one, do you believe there are just people that just aren't good at it, never will be, that's just not how they're wired? And two, how do you get people to be more attuned, the ones that have the ability but haven't honed the skill set?
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Some people will have a more natural inclination to be able to do that, and some people won't. But here's the truth. The truth is, whether people have got those skills or whether they haven't, inevitably they're going to be put into some roles where they have got a customer-facing role, and they have to include it in their job. And whether you can get on with people or not, at some stage in your life, you're going to need to hone that skill. And I think it's a skill that can be learnt. And I always say to people, you need a map. And the map is MAP. The M stands for motivation, plus the A, ability, equals your potential. So if you've got the motivation and the ability, you're going to head straight towards that potential. And it's a great kind of recipe to have. And you might say, well, what if you got the ability and no motivation? Well, and what if you got the motivation and no ability? Ability, skill is something that can be learnt. If you have the compassion, and if you have the desire, and if you have the motivation to do it. So if you're in a customer facing role and you don't have those skills, I think they can be learnt. They can be learnt. And I think in today's world, we have to remember that it's not all about us. I know I've got all my books behind me, and I'm in the business of creating a business, and I know I've got a book that can help people and serve people. So I'm happy to kind of share that and promote it. But I also know that life isn't all about me. There are other people that exist that I'm here to serve. And it's not all about me. And if you know and understand that, you'll start to have that compassion. You'll start to see outside of yourself, and you'll start to see the needs of your customers and be able to put yourself in their shoes.
Well, you hit the word, which is serve. And that's, I always point out on new workshops and training, I'm like, the word serve is in service.
Yes.
It's an important part. And many people miss that.
Yes.
And, you're serving people with your book and your speeches. And by the way, if you are in the UK, hopefully you're elsewhere too, but I know you speak in the UK a lot. You've got to see Joy speak. She is a force of nature on the stage. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But you've got to focus on serving organizationally and individually, I think. And where that gets lost is sometimes I'm actually writing a blog post right now about the internal customer.
Yeah.
About having that service mentality. We've spent many decades trying to get people to understand to serve customers and to serve customer experience, but serving external customers, serving your stakeholders, serving the people that you work with as well, and having that mindset. And I think that's one of the things you really captured.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Adam, that service is at the heart of a lot of what we do. And I have a quote, and see if I can get it right. The quote is, the way that you see someone determines how you serve them. And the way that you serve someone determines how they see you. And it is always to do with that interaction. And what you do in the first instance, if I've never met you, and the way that I see you is kind of like, I'm a bit afraid, or I'm not confident around you, you're going to notice that. And, and my ability to serve you is already reduced because of the way I see things. And I'm trying to kind of see people at face value. And I know, and you will know this as well, because I know you're a speaker. And you speak to lots of different organizations, and you know that when you go and you stand in front of that audience, you don't know that audience, you don't know about them.
Yep.
And you're there to serve them, and they will make an impression of you. But I believe as a speaker, it's up to you and me to win them over, to give them something that's of value to them, that makes them wake up and want to listen.
Absolutely.
Let's face it, we go into these organizations and they don't always want us to be there. And they're there because their bosses have said, we have a conference and you will be there. We have a meeting and you will be there. And it's precious time to them. So I want to add something of value, and I really, really want to serve them.
Oh, and I know you do. I've seen pieces of your speech, and it's amazing. And I take a similar approach. I think you've got to remember in these situations, and this can be extrapolated to all sorts of customer experience situations, that often the customer is not engaged, or in the case of the audience, doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
You've got to find that connection or find that need, often blind.
Yes.
Right? You've got to sort of sense it and guess it and do your best to understand it. This happens when we talk about frontline service in retail, where you don't know the customer. Somebody just walked in and you've got to start a conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
So, so this is good. Keep stepping, know your customers, have empathy, serve. I think we've got some great lessons, but I'm going to let you close it out because you are the guest. What is one lesson you'd want everybody to take away from Keep Stepping?
Well, I think you've already said it earlier in the interview. But I would say that one of the hardest things I find people in business with roles that are in management or roles where they're leading other people, they say, I find it really hard to be myself. I find it really hard to let people see who I am. And I would say, if you want to achieve your best and you want to do your best and you want to serve people and you want to engage with them on a level that is just, phenomenal, then you're going to have to find a way of being who you are and relaxing into that just allows you to fly. And it's not easy to do, but if you can, you will carry a lot of people with you.
Oh, well, that is a great note. We will drop the mic there. And please just let everybody know where they can find you and find out more about Keep Stepping and the programs you do.
Okay, if you want to find out more about me, please visit www.joymarsden.com.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Joy. We appreciate it. It was a great discussion.
Great. Thank you.